Queen Esther received a rousing round of applause in Congress this week. How wonderful and how strange. A fictional character set against a 2,500-year-old backdrop is held up as a model of instruction for today's foreign policy and military and diplomatic strategies. How wonderful and how strange is the power of our Purim narrative. The minor festival of Purim is a masquerade ball. It is a carnival. It is a topsy-turvy, inside-out, upside-down celebration of the wonderful and the strange. Purim is a visual feast of color and lavish feast of sweets and wine. It has us spinning dizzy, so dizzy we don't know which way is up. Who is the hero and who is the villain? Where is the source of our doom and where is the source of our rescue? Our vision is blurred and our thoughts are so hazy we cannot discern what is right before our very eyes and what is hidden from view. What is real? What is to be feared and what is merely fantasy? What is masked and what is revealed? We are lost in the swirl of noisemakers and raucous laughter. We don't even recognize ourselves in the costumes we wear. We present Purim as a simple joy for our children, and we should. We should provide for them those sweet memories of winning a prize at the carnival or dressing up like Queen Esther the Brave. But Purim is for adults who know more of the world and its trials, a very complex day on our calendar, an emotional roller coaster. And the Megillah, though fictional, is a study in the strange and slippery fact of human history, that is, namely, anti-Semitism. The beginning of the story sounds a whole lot like our story. The Jews of Persia were living the good life. There was affluence. There were Jews in high places. Acculturation and assimilation were widespread, and so we never saw it coming. The hatred expressed by Haman was not new or even surprising, but the shock came when King Ahasuerus allowed the toleration of hatred to become public policy. It is written there, and the king then said to Haman, "The people is yours. Do with them as it pleases you." And he handed over his signet ring, allowing Haman to issue his evil decree, the edict against the Jews. Letters were sent out by couriers to all the king's provinces to exterminate Jew, both young and old, children and women, on that day, the 13th day of the month of Adar, and to plunder their possessions as well. And then there is written a key phrase in the Megillah, V'ha'ir Shushan navocha. And the city of Shushan was perplexed. The general population of this sophisticated, world-class city was confused by this edict. How did we get here? They must have asked one another. How have things unraveled so quickly without our noticing? There were at least two responses among the Jews of Shushan. The first is represented by Mordechai. It is written of him, Mordechai rent his clothes. He put on sackcloth and ashes and went out into the center of the city square, and he cried out with a loud and bitter weeping. And many Jews then joined him, mourning and fasting, weeping and wailing. This was a public display, a public protest in the city square. There was another response, represented by Esther. Hers was denial. Understandably, of Esther it is written, when her maidens and eunuchs told her how Mordechai was behaving, she was greatly distressed and had proper garments sent out to clothe him, but he refused to accept them. Notice the text pays attention to the detail, saying she did not herself leave the castle and go out to the city square. Instead, she sent a messenger to literally cover up Mordechai's grief, but he refused to pretend away the reality of the threat. Esther's denial could not last, of course. Mordechai sent a message back to her in the palace saying, "Do not think in your heart that if you of all the Jews will escape because you are in the king's house. For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from another place." From another place. Our sages pick up on this phrase and say, this is where God is written into the story. If Esther does not intervene according to Mordechai's faith, God will. And Mordechai's message to Esther continues. But if you live in denial, you and your father's house will be destroyed. But who knows? Perhaps you have come into this royal position for exactly this moment, for exactly this purpose. And then something clicks for Esther. She realizes that her destiny is in every way bound up to the destiny of her people. Her reply message to Mordechai describes her epiphany. "Go and gather together all the Jews of Shushan and fast for me. Do not eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my maidens will also fast. Then I will go into the king, though it is against the law, and if I perish, I will perish." Esther, the queen, in this moment comes to understand that she depends upon her people, that she needs the strength of her people gathered round her, that she depends on them as much as they depend on her in this moment. Mordechai and Esther, they represent two initial responses in the face of growing anti-Semitism. Now, there is on the one hand such a thing as Jewish paranoia, and we know it well. We read it often. And there is also such a thing as Jewish denial. We also know this far too well. Neither one is an accurate view of the world. Neither one is healthy. Neither one is helpful. And both come with great risk. But in between paranoia and denial, there is a range of views which can collectively lead us to see the world for what it really is, and can lead us to committing ourselves to setting it right. Not in panic or paranoia, not in fright and fear. Paranoia and denial are debilitating, but realism and activism have the power to move the unfolding story of the human narrative and all the world toward redemption. It seems awareness of this tension is as necessary today as it ever was. Now the masquerade of Purim is over. Nothing is hidden from sight. Our masks are off. The spiels are over. The curtain has been raised. And so on this Shabbat, let us take at least a few learnings from the Megillah and take them with us into the year ahead. First, there is the lesson that Esther learned, that we are all in this together. The destiny of each one is wrapped up in the destiny of every other Jew, from Toronto to Paris, from Madison, Wisconsin to Buenos Aires, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. We are Am Echad. We are one people. There is no hiding among the crowds. There is no hiding in the castles we may be fortunate enough to know. We can learn this truth the wonderful way, through Shabbat and Torah learning, through joyful family life and enriching communal life, through a cultivated and deep love of Israel, through moments of gathering in sacred spaces just like this, when we join our voices together in song and prayer, when we hear the voice of a bat mitzvah, like Ellie, which resonates so pure and true with the love of the tradition. This is the good way that we might reinforce our understanding of a shared destiny and a common cause. This is the good way, the easy way. But we can also learn the truth of Am Echad the hard way, like Esther did, with a sudden jolt. Another message that we can take away from the Megillah is the one that Mordechai learned, that neither he nor the Jewish people is alone in their fear. The Jewish people might be singled out, but we are not alone. The Jewish state of Israel may be singled out, but she is not alone. Some days it may feel that way, but we must not lose faith in humanity. Thousands took to the streets in Berlin. Thousands took to the streets in Paris to say, not here, not again. The Chancellor of Germany, the Prime Minister of France, and our own Prime Minister Harper say loudly and clearly and with sincere conviction, not on my watch. And when Congress stood time and time again, it was for Iron Dome to say we will protect those millions of Jewish lives within Israel's borders. And ordinary good people of every continent see anti-Semitism for what it is, and they are saying to one another, this must be checked. This must be stopped, here and now. These are our friends, these are our neighbors, these are our co-workers. They are also committed to uncovering the truth about what is and what must become. Thank God spring is on its way. There is literally more light, less darkness, more warmth, less chill. After Purim comes Pesach with its promise of renewal and freedom, redemption for all the world. The God of Purim might be mysterious and hard to find, but the God of Pesach is revealed for all to behold. God's hand in the unfolding of human history is sometimes only felt by way of human deeds of courage and conviction, like Mordechai and Esther. But sometimes that Yad HaChazakah, that outstretched and mighty hand of the divine, enters into human history in miraculous ways, such as the story of Pesach. And so during these days, which are wedged just between Purim and Pesach, let human will and divine will merge for the good. Let our collective human strength and God's endless strength be woven together to protect the Jewish people. May God be the source of strength to all who work to bring greater justice and compassion, not only for the Jewish people, but for all the peoples of this world. This is our eternal prayer. We spoke these words just moments ago together this morning. Tzur chayenu, magen yishenu, atahu ledor vador. You, O God, are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every generation. Ken yehi ratzon.